Yo everyone, what's up? We're back. Another episode. We're going to try fire through this one. Probably trying to do 4 or 5 shows because we have a lot booked. We're almost at about 200 fighters on the roster right now, which is crazy. Obviously, a lot of that will get slimmed down over time, very slowly, as we're just trying to book as many fights. We're sticking this year's pretty much till the end of the year before we look to title fights and we start putting a bit more structure into our shows. But the good thing about, I guess, the positive of the start of this episode is after this show we should hit mid-level regional, and it should be a much quicker transition from mid-regional to high. It won't take as long basically to hit high as it did to hit mid at the start. But we got unbeaten Stafford Dahl against Harry Milne. Both of these guys sort of OGs of the heavyweight division. We've had them since day one. They start in the game. They've already got quite a few fights under their belt. Should be a pretty good fight. Stafford will look to stay unbeaten. We also got Martin, of course, unbeaten. One of the national name value guys in Europe, trying to build his name value here. We got Ishida, high level Muay Thai, I believe. He's up against unbeaten Gorshin, which will be a pretty hard fight for him. We also got Bingwen Park, who won his debut. It was his first sort of pro fight, but he was already 4-0. He's the second pound for pound fighter in the world right now at 5-0. Then we got Fujikawa, who also came in like Bingwen Park at 4-0, but he lost his debut. So he'll be looking to get his first win. Abdul Bier, who lost his last fight, which was the first loss of his career, and he's got Fujishima, who's 2-0, to go up against, which will be pretty tough fight. Alberto's back in action too. He lost against Bingwen in his last fight, so he's going to try and get back on winning ways against Connor Stith, who comes in, makes his debut, who's a national caliber wrestler, so that'll be very hard fight for Roberto. Roberto Alves as well, he comes in, makes his debut. He's pretty good, Roberto. Accomplished Muay Thai, but he's pretty well rounded. Head kicker, goes out fighting, fearless, proper preparer, so we should get some nice fights. He does start at 26, which is a bit, but he's up against Fast, who of course another pretty solid fighter. Kind of similar to Roberto, where he's not great. He's not specifically great at anything, but he's just very well rounded. But he comes in at 19 years old, which would have been very good if Alberto was the same, or Roberto, sorry, but it's not to be. And also Noberto, who is 1-0, makes his second fight of the year. Well, it's no real surprise to start off the show. It's a first round finish for Noberto to go 2-0, and he beats the Darkness Machida, who was debuting. But the big favourite prevails. Alright, next up we got the two guys who are pretty much, I would say, they're like the jack of all trades but master of none. This will be an interesting one. It has Fast Smith to win, but I think that's also largely to be because Roberto's never fought. I think that actually comes into factor with the betting lines. I'm not really too sure though. But let's have a look. Roberto beats him. Knockout knee, sorry. Great rating, third round finish. Good debut for Roberto. Because usually, obviously with so many guys in the roster, when we book people up for their first few fights who are actually good fighters, usually they're not against other really good fighters, because we want to build the good guys up so we can have them fight against each other when they have good momentum and a bit of a record. Not that it doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of, I prefer to book it that way, but it can't always be that way. But Roberto prevails as well, just like Norberto, and gets the W. We got our national caliber wrestler making his debut here. I can't really see a way Roberto beats him, but it's the same situation. Roberto's favourite in the betting lines, but I think it's mainly because we've not ever seen Connor fight. Oh, he does win though. Goes to decision, which is kind of surprising because Roberto's not great, especially his ground game. So the fact that he's went 3 rounds without losing to a wrestler is pretty crazy. Only gets an average, so it must have been a pretty boring affair. Yeah, Connor only shot for 1 takedown the entire fight and didn't land it. Huh. Very weird tactic, but nonetheless, Alberto's back on winning ways. Next up, we got a filler match. Pretty much, this was just we were running out of ideas, I think, for this show in terms of fighters we wanted to push. So we just threw these two guys in. Christopher's probably one of the worst guys. He's got nothing, boxing power and nothing else. And Emmanuel, I believe, is a high level wrestler. So we have to put Emmanuel on to win, unless the boxing power comes through for Christopher. And it does. It goes to unanimous decision though. Another weird win. Why would he not just take him down and he's got like no ground game? especially when you go the whole distance, all 3 rounds. Just similar to last fight, but it gets a good rating at least, so we'll move on. 2 submission fighters up next. This should be an interesting one. Abdul's the slight underdog for Fujikawa, who'll be looking to go 3-0. Abdul, of course, will want to win after suffering his first pro defeat on his last fight, but it's another loss for him. It was a pretty rough fight though, being matched up against Fujikawa. Great rating, first round finish for him to stay unbeaten and get a good win under his belt too. Fujikawa, of course, lost his debut coming in at 4-0, and he's got a high level boxer, the Shedder, who's not really great. He can kind of just punch hard and that's about it, but I think Fujikawa should have enough about him to finish this guy, and he does. Knockout pound and punch this time rather than the knee. Good rating to give Fujikawa his first win with GFC. He's also calling out Fezzik, which, yeah, he's basically asking to lose. He's got no chance against Fezzik. The second pound for pound fighter in the whole world, which doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really hold much value at this stage in the game, but there's nothing I'll be able to take away from him. The 4th middleweight in GFC, the 1st middleweight in the world, the second pound for pound, who of course won his debut with GFC, and he's the favourite to do so again against high level wrestler Amaya, and he does. Rear naked choke finishes him too in round 1. They go 6-0, the first guy in GFC to hit 6-0, even though it's not been 6 fights with a promotion, but nonetheless. He's also calling out Fernando Amaro again. That's interesting. Good call out though. We like Bing when he started off well, and he's only 19 years old. Moving on, we got Gorshin, the 30-year-old, who's pretty much shaping up to be the guy to fight Go Yamamoto right now in the lightweight division for the first ever lightweight championship. So this will only stake his claim even more if he can come through high level jiu-jitsu debuting Ishida. And he does as well. It goes the whole distance. Good raid. 4-0 for Gorshin, which is, yeah, like I said, he's just putting his foot down even more in that second spot of lightweight to be the guy to fight for the first ever lightweight title shot. Co-main event, huge favourite Martin, one of the highest paid athletes in the game right now too, and he's got a pretty easy fight here to go 3-0 against Glenn Pim, and he pulls through. North-south choke as well, interesting, you don't see much of them. Only gets a decent rating, and it's a round 3 finish. Glenn Pim managed to push him all the way to the 3rd round, but he gets the win to go 3-0, and he calls out Wenyam Chim, who I believe came into the promotion 3-0. Oh no, hold on, it was Chim, yeah, of course, it was Chim that called him out. I think I actually remember going over that, because it was someone new when he called out Martin, and I was quite surprised, saying it was disrespectful, so that could be something that happens. It'll only be good for Martin for us to boost him up on a very high profile fight that will draw in many eyes. Right, here we go, main event. Kickboxing against wrestling. The betting line has them odds and even. Who knows who's going to win? I don't really know who I have my money on. Probably Stafford, just in terms he's got more momentum going for him because he's stayed unbeaten. Although when Harry Milne lost, it was against Jeff, which isn't that bad of a loss, honestly, because we got Jeff, we got Phil Vedigri, and we got Tony the Spider McCall, who are kind of shaping up right now to be 2 out of the 3 to face for the belt. But Staffordale's really not far behind him. The only reason he is behind him is just because he's not had as many fights. But if he beats someone like Harry, then he's putting himself in that contention to fight for the first heavyweight title, as we're trying our hardest to hold Fezzik back, just like we kind of are with Matthew Dean, but it's not really working out with Matthew Dean. Oh, yep, that's pretty much shattered Staffordale's chances of being the first guy, being one of the guys to fight for the title for the first time. Wow. Round 4 finish, huge win for Harry after a bit of a rocky start. 51,000 at the gate, 54 commercial, so we should definitely hit mid-level regional after this card for sure. 72 at the critical. We only got 2 greats, 1.5% popularity increase. We will give, you know what, give Roberto the debut. He can have knockout and fight, and submission can go to, yeah, give it to Bing win, why not? Not bad. 28,000 we take, paying out 27,000 to the fighters. Martin, of course, who won again, takes 7,500. He's I'm pretty sure he is the highest paid guy in the world right now. But on this card, there's a fight coming up that you'll see when the time comes. It's pretty much one guy who's going to become the highest paid fighter with just one fight. He's a high level national Canadian fighter, and he gets paid. We're paying the guy so much money he could literally single-handedly bankrupt their company, which we're taking a big risk. But there we go, mid-level regional. Good way to start the episode. Right, here we go. First show, mid-level regional, GFC 20. Rob Baines 4-0 up first. He's currently number 1 as well right now in the middleweight class, which is pretty crazy. So he goes 5-0. He's probably going to be one of the best pound for pound guys and cement himself even more to make it more realistic that he should be fighting for the first middleweight title fight. Then we got Fezzik, who's going to roll through Rick Stanley. Mikhailovic, who won his debuts back in action against Richard Smith, who that should be a pretty decent fight. We got Sato as well, who lost his debut. He's up against Philho, who also lost. Then we got Sho, who's making his debut, who's actually a national caliber wrestler. So he should be quite a headache for a lot of the guys in his division. And he's got Cascone to go through first, who lost his debut. Petey Barnum as well against Elias Schofield, who makes his debut. High level kickboxer with no real ground game. Boring Bonnie X up against debuting Pronin, who's already 3-0. Should be a win for Pronin. Kurt Stonge makes his debut, who I know very well. On my last playthrough, he was my first ever heavyweight champ. I mean, he's not like amazing. He is pretty solid though. Very good jiu-jitsu. But I have a lot of love for Kurt. I've had a lot of wars with this guy. I've seen him fight a lot of crazy fights. What else? Who else? We got Zach makes his debut, the Scottish jiu-jitsu guy. Always good to have more Scotsmen. He's not very good though, which isn't great. Then we got Tropham making his pro debut up against Blaze, who lost his. Newcomer Tropham is the favourite for this one, and he comes out on top. Great rated submission finish to hand Blaze's second defeat as Tropham wins his debut. The debuting Scotsman's slight favourite for this one against the 33-year-old Noah. We're hoping he wins just purely because of age. Oh, he doesn't. Oh, okay, let's just move on. It's a little awkward. Boring Boniak, big favourite. 1-1, of course. We forced him pretty much to fight James Foster. So you would lose to slow his momentum down a little bit because, as you can see here, it's going to be a hard time for anyone to beat him. I mean, there is people that can, for sure, but he does get a great rated fight here, which you don't see that. Well, I don't see that too often with Boniek, but we'll take it. He marks his second win with a great rating, so no complaints. Kurt Stonge, the favourite coming into this one, already 3-0. We signed him a little bit late. I would have preferred to get him earlier, but it was during a time where we didn't have a whole lot of money, and he obviously was costing us a little bit because of the fights he'd already had. But he gets the loss. He loses. Oh my god. Grant, who's 0-2. If Grant lost this fight, he would have lost his job. I guess that really pulled him through and motivated him. Great rated fight. Kurt Stonge loses, and Grant wins to fight another day. And he's called out James Foster. What an absolute baboon. This one's kind of just a filler match because Elias is not really that great. And he's a slight underdog here against 0-1 PA boy. But he does win with another great rated fight. Unanimous decision win. We're getting a lot of good, exciting fights this card. And he's called out Mark Cohen. Nice, okay, I'll take it. Good debut for Elia. We got Cascone high level submission wrestling against the national caliber wrestler and Show, the 17-year-old. He is the underdog, but I think it's mainly just because technically we don't know anything about him. I do and you do because I've just told you and showed you, but the fans don't, so he's the huge underdog. But I don't see Cascone beating him. Oh wow, he does. Okay. First round, 40 seconds is all it took for Cascone to win. Wow, that's a huge bounce back fight for him, especially after losing his debut here. Very good sit win. I mean, yeah, we don't really need to say much on this one. It's also kind of crazy that this guy's 185 pounds and he's 5'9", and he's against 6 foot. But we don't. These guys suck. Like, it just doesn't matter who wins. The dog Sato wins, which I guess is nice because he's nicknames the dog, which is cool, I guess. Not really, but okay, we move. The big man himself, Shooter Smith, who finally got a first win of his career on the last fight. He's got another huge mountain to overcome against Yasin Malkovich, who is the favourite going into this, but Richard wins to pull together back-to-back wins. I'm pretty sure on the fight he won too, he was the underdog, and he pulled through and he's just done so again. You know, that's crazy, being one fight away from losing his job to now pushing in back-to-back wins, especially against someone like Malkovich, who's not a bad fighter at all. Wow, good turnaround here for the shooter. Poor Rick Stanley's been thrown to the wolves here. Fezzik's back in action. And in the second round, submission Kimura finish. Another great rated fight to push him up to 3-0. Nothing stopping Fezzik. It's only a matter of time before he's in the title scene. Well, we got a great Cobain, which is perfect, and we have another hugely one-sided fight, which is a bit, I guess, bad timing in a sense, because all the fights were not like super one-sided until we got to the co-main and the main event, so our credibility will take a little bit of a hit for this, but because we just moved up to mid-level regional, we don't need to worry about it. But both guys unbeaten. De Castro, of course, won his debut against Glenn Pym, split decision, but I don't see him overcoming Rob. Nope. First round, 1 second to go in the round. Good rated fight to rear naked choke Rob Baines to hit 5-0. And he boasts that he's pretty much unbeatable, which, yeah, you could argue. You know, he's on a 5 winning streak. He's first in the middleweight class, only 23 years old. We hit a 46, just over high level regional too, which is nice. 63,000 at the gate because we bumped up. So we got a little bit of a bump in our attendance because of our rise in size, which is perfect. 1.5 though, popularity increase. And if we book about 6-7 shows before the end of the year, being in July, we'll probably hit about maybe like 10% in popularity. So it's not looking realistic we'll hit high regional by the end of the year, but not to worry. Richard Smith can definitely take sub. We'll give fight of the night to, you know what, we'll give it to Richard too, since he was the underdog and he beat Malkovich. Why not? And it was a 3-round fight, so the people got their money's worth. They got to see some action. And KO has to go to Noah, which, okay, we'll give it to him. It's probably the only award he'll win in his whole career, but it is what it is. We take 48,000 as well, only paying 21,000 to the fighters. So not bad. Nice chunk of money there. Pretty exciting card actually on this one. We have the very infamous, you could say, rather than famous, Terence Bushman. He's the first, I believe, national American valued fighter to enter the game world. And on paper, he looks very, very good. Bushman, if you play in a promotion, if you play the Global Verse, and you play America, there's never ever going to be a save where you don't have Terence Bushman. So you guys, if you're watching and you play Global Verse, I'm going to be baffled if you don't know who Terence Bushman is. But for a weird reason, he's still 0-0, even though he's been in the game world for a while. He, of course, takes away a lot of money. We have a lot of guys like Bushman that have came into the promotion now that we'll see popping up in the next few episodes. They make a lot of money. They're huge name values, just not in the UK. I mean, look at his stats. Great submission attack, great submission defense, great takedown defense, great wrestling, great stand-up. But when you look at this, you think world champion, right? Great caliber. But Terence Bushman is hands down 100% the most inconsistent fighter I've ever had in any save. He just cannot pull in back-to-back wins, no matter who I put him up against. So hopefully this playthrough might be a little different and he can make a real solid name for himself. I actually remember on my last playthrough, for 3 years in a row, Terence Bushman was involved in Upset of the Year. And you can imagine, surprise, surprise, he lost all 3 of those fights. And it was 3 years in a row. Upset of the Year was against him, which I thought was crazy. But we also got Don Norman, who won his debut up against Phil Vedigri, who's looking to go 5-0. One of the guys, just like Ricardo Fernandez, we kind of booked smart without really meaning it. So we'll see how he gets on. Don Norman's not bad. We also got Akihida, who's low-level Japanese world caliber wrestler who also makes his debut tonight. Francisco Marazino's also in the same situation as Phil Vedigri. He's trying to jump into 5-0. We've got Mac Fuller, who's actually outside the top 10, but he's 3-0, which is quite surprising. He's just not really moving up the rankings, even though he's winning all his fights, and Otto, of course, won his debut, so it's going to be an interesting fight. Welterweight Jack Humphreys also enters. He'll be an exciting guy in welterweight. Pretty decent wrestler, loves to call out, loves trash talking, so it's always good to have more guys like that. Frank Analysis is back in action. He's 2-2. Robin Yamazaki, pretty solid wrestler who lost his debut and then won his last fight. He's up in action again. See if he can get another win. We also have Porsche Bradley, who's a national caliber fighter, sorry. Very good ground game. He makes his pro debut as well at 18 years old. Well, on paper, we have Inna, who's also making his debut as the favourite here. But looking at the skills and stats, I'll be surprised if Porter Bradley doesn't pick up a debut win. He does. Okay, that's good. Especially being 18, I love this sort of national caliber 0-0 guys that come in when they're so young too. He'll have an interesting career at light heavyweight, actually. We'll see how he gets on, but he wins on his debut. This is pretty much just a filler fight. Tanaka is very lucky to have got booked in this before he got cut. So if Yamashita doesn't win this fight, I'm going to be pissed because Tanaka technically shouldn't even still be here. So we're basically gifting Yamashita another win before we get rid of Tanaka. But if Tanaka wins... Okay, good. Let's just move on before we end up jinxing this and then this situation happens again and the guy we don't want to win does so. But yeah, good job Yamashita, God knows, Jesus. Burwell we brought in 4-0 and he lost to Mark Cohen on his debut. Whereas Robin, on the other hand, he lost to Ito on his and then won his last fight. So my money's on Robin to win here again. And he does. First round decent rated finish. Submission for Robin to go 2-1. Frank Analysis, huge favourite to beat Brian. Big Bree Barnes, who lost his debut, and he does. Great rated fight for Barnes to go 0-2. And for Frank to hit 3-2. The infamous 3-2 record, which I believe Leon Banks also has. It's pretty crazy, they just can't put any consistency together. Jack Humphreys is the huge favourite, the trash talker himself on his debut. And he pulls through with a first round submission win. Let's see if he calls anyone out, even though it's on his debut, he doesn't. But yeah, he's very good in these situations, knows how to handle himself, knows how to create pop. He'll be an interesting welterweight addition. 3-0 unbeaten Mac Fuller's the favourite against Otto. This will be a big win for Mac, honestly, and it might finally propel him deep into the top 10 in middleweight where he deserves to be. He's not really had any real tests. Otto isn't exactly super skilled, but it's probably the hardest fight for Mac so far, and he wins too. It does go to decision, but it's a good rated win. Yeah, and rightly so. Wow, he puts in work against Cascudo, but he goes 4-0. Well, the first of our two fighters that's looking to go 5-0, Marazina, and then we got Phil Vedigri. Let's see if he can do it. He's a huge favourite. He does. Great rated fight as well. First round finish. 18-year-old Karuba will hit 0-2. But Marazina joins that elite club of 5-0s. You know, the first handful of guys that enter the world rankings. One of our national level guys from abroad. Akihida, 0-0, makes his pro debut. Big favourite. National caliber wrestler. And he gets a great rated debut too. Rear naked choke finish in round 2. To hand Sudo his second defeat of his career. Good win. We'll see a lot more of Hida too. He can be a little bit boring, I remember from my last save, but we'll see how he pans out. He started off very well, so we'll see. As we jump into this one here, we're going straight into it. We're not even going to cut. We're going straight into the co-main event. Phil Vedigri. Very similar situation to Mac Fuller, where Phil, of course, has been booked very smart. He's not really had any huge challenges, but in terms of punch for punch value, Don Norman's not. Okay, never mind. I thought he had way more boxing power. Wow. Okay, never mind. Let's just go. Phil should be winning this. And he does. He goes 5-0. Phil Vedigri joins Marazina. Only a decent rated fight. It went the whole distance, but This is just getting funnier and funnier. I feel like for almost like the memes, in a sense, we need to put Phil in the title fight, the heavyweight title fight. But there's, out of all the divisions, the heavyweight's probably got the most contenders that it would be realistic, because you have Jeff Carlin, Gunnar Nilsson's catching up after Stafford Dahl lost. You got Jeff Carlin too, and you got Tony McCall, the fighter of the year. So it'd be kind of, we'll see. But has he got any call outs? He does with Jeff Carlin, so that could work. But Jeff is pretty much in favour to beat them both, because Jeff's fighting game's all on the ground, whereas Phil and Tony aren't really blessed with ground skills. But good win for Phil anyway. And he's relighting the fire with Jeff. So maybe that's a sign that it should be them two. Okay, main event. 18 years old, unbreakable Terence Bushman on his debut. I mean, the betting line say he's huge favourite, but I don't know what it is with this guy. He doesn't seem to be consistent, but I guess time will tell. We'll see in maybe like 50 episodes time what his record looks like, but let's see if he can win against kickboxer Bogdan. Okay, he does, 38 seconds into round 3, and it's a great rating, which is perfect. Perfect start for him in the main event, and he's calling it Bingwen Park too. Nice, what a perfect debut. Great main event, does a call out. 72,000 at the gate, and just for that one reason, he also gives us our high 60% mid-national because of his value so high, which is actually our highest ever commercial rating. So just for those reasons alone, we take 1.8% popularity, which is 0.3% higher than we've ever. Usually we get about 1.5, which is great. And I was just about to say we're going to give him fight and KO for all the stuff he's done tonight, but the AI has already suggested that he should get it anyway. Submission we'll give to Jack Humphries, will we? No, we won't. We'll give it to Aki, since this was a great rated fight. Yeah. I don't know how much money going forward we're going to take after shows, because we have guys like Terence Bushman and Aki Hida and a few more. There's more guys like them that are taking away 8, 9, 10,000 base pay before they even get their win bonus. Yeah, look at that. Bushman takes 20,000. And I believe the highest paid fighter in the whole game world right now is only on like 30 or 25. So the fact that Bushman's getting that much with one fight, it won't be long before he's in the elite club of the best paid fighters in the game. And rightly so. Bushman is good. He is very good. But I just struggle to really root for him because he's let me down so many times before. But pretty much our biggest gate, our biggest commercial rating, most popularity, we take away a decent amount of money, considering we're not losing money still. I could even hire broadcasters for my shows and I would still be taking money, which is good. So a lot of pluses, but let's move in to the next episode. No, sorry, the next show, and then we'll end the episode there. Alright, here we go. To end the episode, we have only 9 fights this card. We did have Jim Carpenter set to fight Thiago Sene, but Sene, literally, I think like 2 days ago, tore or broke his rotator cuff. So he's got a lengthy spell line on the sidelines. I think it's like 1 year, which isn't too rough. It just means we didn't have enough time for Jim to get a replacement. But 9 fights, still no penalties, which is good. A lot more debuts on this card. And we have Gage Rossignol, who is very similar to Terence Bushman. He's one of the few guys in the game world who start with national name value when they come in. To put it into perspective, these guys, Gage and Bushman, I think right now there's about 400 fighters in the game world, and only about 8 or 7 across all weight classes have mid or high level national draw. Gage is a similar fighter to Bushman. Very, very good stand-up game, but his downfall is he has no ground game or no defence, whereas Bushman does. But he's very marketable, He's very, very good stand-up, so we need to kind of book him a little bit smarter if we want to keep sort of squeezing as much commercial out of him as we can. But he's got Dwayne Weatherly, who's another stand-up guy with no real ground game. Much better defence than Gage, but hopefully Gage gets the win. We also got Jeff Carlin back in action. He's 4-0, and so is his opponent here, Vitali, who won his debut. He's also 4-0. So whoever wins this will propel themselves in the heavyweight. We're hoping it's Jeff Carlton though. Kenji Toma, another mid-level national on this card. He's very good. Pretty much the opposite of Terence Bushman. Engage, very, very good ground game. No stand-up game. We'll see how far he can go in light heavyweight. He's a very interesting addition. Kenji, especially coming in at 19. We also got Mark Cohen, who's currently on a 3-winning streak up against Kenoshi. Should be a win for Mark. Dan and Zapatov, both 2-1 records, so hoping to build on that. We got Nigel Mali. Shit, I skipped right past Nigel. Of course, he's coming off his excellent rated win against Mario, which is, it's got to win fight of the year. It's got to. What a battle that was. What an absolute insane fight. I still can't believe it. And Mario, who of course is on the losing end of that excellent fight, is also in this card, trying to get back on winning ways. And then we have another mid-level national fighter on this card, Leon the Bazooka Dodlin. There's probably some accent in there, but I'm like probably saying it so wrong because it's probably like French Canadian or something. I don't, who knows? But yeah, world caliber wrestler. We might actually lose money on this card if all these mid-level national guys win their fights. It's very likely. I probably should have paid more attention when I was booking, but we did get them all in one big wave, like I mentioned a few episodes ago. But anyway, enough blabbing, let's finish this episode. Hopefully it's a good show. Debuting Lee, 18 years old, is the favourite for this one, and he loses. Nikkei saves his job there. He would have been cut if he lost this. So yeah, he gets the win. Wow, okay. Good start. Okay, here we go. The first of 3 mid-level national fighters that are making their debut. Leon's a huge favourite, yeah. It goes the whole way though, which is interesting. 18 years old. Pro fight debut, he wins. God damn it, he's going to be taking so much money. Oh my god, I can already feel it just falling out my pockets. Mario, 2-2, huge favourite. The funny thing about this one is Ito, as much as he's not great, there's so much people that's worse than him on in the middleweight class. He's just not been booked very smart for him to give him wins. So if he loses this, he's going to get cut, but it'll be 3 very, very good fighters he's lost to. Yeah, decent rated first round finish for the 24-year-old, back on winning ways after his huge loss to Nigel Mali. Next up, we got both guys. It's 2-1. I'm kind of hoping Zapatov wins. He is the favourite, but you never know. Dan's not that bad. He's really not. It's 2 pretty good wrestlers and ground guys, but Zapatov's younger, so yeah, decent rated. Don't expect anything more from Zapatov. He's not the most exciting guy, but he does get the win to go 3-1, and he also wants to fight Ricardo Fernandez, who's still unbeaten. Another smart booking, just like Phil Vedigri. That's an interesting call out. Konishi, who is an accomplished jiu-jitsu fighter, 18 years old, 3-0, up against Cohen, who has won his last 3 fights after losing his debut initially. He is the favourite, and he gets the job done to go 4-1, currently on a 4-winning streak. It does go to unanimous decision. We've had quite a few of them this card, but it is a win nonetheless for Mark. Next up, we got my new best friend, Nigel Mali, after his last performance, up against Athanasia. Let's just go with the missile. Now, the missile sucks. He can pretty much throw a punch and that is it. He can throw a hard punch and that is it. Which, to be honest, Nigel Mali can't really do that much better. He's just got really good knockout power. So this could actually, oh my god, this might not even be a win for Nigel, because this guy can hit really hard. Which is why, like, when you book these guys, right, that's the thing that's so, like, crazy, is when you have guys like this who can't do much at all, but they're just so good at punching, they can literally beat anyone. Like, you just, even if they're fighting someone like Matthew Dean or something, you just never know, because all they have to do is land one punch and it could be over for anyone. But Nigel gets the job done. With an arm triangle of all things, it's not even a knockout. Do you have a good chin, actually? It's not bad. Very poor conditioning though, so he probably got tired, even though it was only round 2. A lot of power punches landed for Nigel, and not so much for Palavinov, but great rated fight. Nigel Mali could actually be on course, because he's still technically in his rookie year. He could actually be on course to win more than just fight of the year. He could be Rookie of the Year, you know. Maybe. It's a push, but he's had a very good year. Kenji Toma's slight favourite up next, making his debut. I don't think he's going to lose this, to be honest. He does! Wow, his pro debut, he loses to the Sorcerer, the high-level judo fighter. Wow. I mean, I'm not really too bothered. Kenji's 19. He's going to come back from this. He's going to have way more fights. There's no way Kenji's going 3 losses in a row to get cut. But, I mean, part of me is kind of happy he's lost because it means I don't need to pay him the extra like £10,000. So we're more likely to take away more money. Is that bad? Nah, screw it. Let's see if there's any call-outs or anything. Nope. Very huge debut win though for the judo fighter. Only 18 as well. Jeff the Rock Carlton. Here we go. I feel like I've not seen Jeff in so long. But he's up against Vitali. Whoever wins this will be in that elite club as well. Jeff's the big favourite. Average rated co-main event here. Goes to unanimous decision, but Jeff gets the job done. It's pretty much going to be Jeff fighting for the heavyweight title, it looks like. And it's either going to be probably Phil Vedigri or Tony the Spider McCall. Most likely that he'll be fighting against. Alright, here we go, the big one. The betting lines have this pretty even. I actually don't know who's going to win. I kind of hope Gage wins, but even if he loses, his name value is not really going to be diminished that much. He might drop down to mid-level regional, but probably not. Fighters only lose about 6-7% of their name value normally when they lose a fight, whereas they can gain like 15-20%, depending on a few factors, but usually it's averaging about that. Okay, he does win, and it's also a great rating. 2nd round knockout kick for Gage on his debut. He also main events his debut too, just like, calls out Gorshin. Wow, that's really not a smart call out though. I wish the game took stuff like that into account. Like, why would Gage call out Gorshin when he has absolutely no ground game, and that's Gorshin's like main attribute is his wrestling and his ground game. So he's got like, it's interesting, I guess. But I guess when you're a fighter, you're not really scared of anyone, are you? It doesn't matter. You'll fight anyone. But pretty solid, 56%. So not as much as the mid-level national we had last show with the commercial. I believe it was 60%, but 78 critical, which is kind of a surprise. I think mainly because of a great main event. 65,000 at the gate too. We're up to 800 people per show, 1.6% in popularity as we increase all over the board, which is great. Yeah, Gage takes fight and KO, I would say. And we'll give it to Nigel, you know. He very rarely, I've never seen him finish a fight with submission, and it got a great rating too. He's just piling on with the achievements. Let's see money though. This is where the issue comes in. Yeah, look at this. He takes away 50,000, a bag of 50 G's, baby. That's crazy. So Gage, just to put it into perspective, even though we're 1990, right, and the game's still fleshing out, Gage has just became, by a long, like a country mile, the highest earning MMA fighter with one fight. It's also kind of my fault. I probably shouldn't have put like Kenji and Leon on this card. Just because of the simple fact they take away so much too. We would have lost even more if Kenji Toma won this fight. It would have been about 20k more. No, well, 20k he would have took, about 10k more we would have lost. But this isn't bad. I mean, we lost money, but we're still taking pop, and we have about 300k in the bank, so it's not something we need to worry about just now. But lots of new fighters. Again, we're up to about 200 on the roster. We've hit mid-level regional. We're going to keep ploughing on and then keep putting in like 2 or 3 shows a month till the end of the year, and then we'll do an end of year award. We'll look at the rankings and maybe have a look at the rankings just before the end of the year, and we'll decide, or I'll decide, who's fighting for the first ever titles on each weight class. But peace out, guys. See you next time.